Hello, friends. My name is Zoe Winther, and I'm not sure about the beanie I'm wearing. Am I also wearing a beanie and a shirt that has way too many holes? You're not sure what the weather is? It's freezing. Am I cold? Yes. Why am I wearing this? I'm paradox. Don't know. Can't be defined. Yep. Okay. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is some news that you may have seen recently. If you're in the content and specifically podcast game, you would have seen this everywhere. But if you're from another industry, you may have seen it in your travels. And if you are in another industry, thank you. Come on in, sit down. We're chatting about podcasts and stuff. Lovely to have you. But the news is Kim Kardashian West is going to be producing a podcast with Spotify, a Spotify exclusive. Now, you may have also seen Spotify in the news recently because they have acquired the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Humongous news with us podcast nerds. They also quite recently acquired Gimlet Media, which is a huge media company, specifically podcasts. So Spotify have made this huge investment into the podcast world, and I am very, very excited to see where this goes and how this plays out, and if it, in the long run, is all worth it. Now, I want to take some lessons from this news and try to apply it to our own businesses and our own content that we produce. And basically, what I want to talk about today is how to compete with monopolies in your industry or big companies in your industry. So Spotify, they are admittedly a huge company now, but specifically with podcasts, are up against one of the biggest companies in the world, and that is Apple. So, I mean, for the last 15 years, the only way to really consume podcasts, of course it has been changing in the last few years, but for about 15 years, the only way to really consume them was through Apple. Now it's called Apple Podcasts, but traditionally iTunes. I'm sure that you remember iTunes. In my own life, I downloaded podcasts through iTunes, through the iTunes library, downloaded them, put them on my iPod, and that's how I consumed them. So we've come a long way with how we consume our audio content. And for all of that time, Apple was the monopoly in the industry. Now we have Spotify, which is coming up. We also have Stitcher, which I believe has been recently acquired by SiriusXM. There are a few others, but the majority of these platforms, they pull from the Apple podcast feed. And that's kind of how they work. That's how I listen. I've got an app on my phone that pulls from Apple. I think. Not 100% sure, but that's how I know it. But how, in our own lives, in our own businesses, in our own work, how do we compete with big monopolies? So I mentioned Spotify was up against Apple. Spotify is also competing against another humongous platform, which is YouTube, with the Joe Rogan podcast. I think the majority of his listens are through YouTube. It's a video podcast. The YouTube comments play a huge role in how the experience of the podcast, which is really interesting. I've done another video about that, which I will link. So there are these two humongous companies that Spotify are up against and are now actually competing with really, really well. So I want to talk about how that's been done and then hopefully what we can take away. So what's been happening with YouTube? It's been a bit of turmoil, I should say, with YouTube. A lot of censorship, a lot of lack of communication with creators. A lot of creators are just getting a little bit over the platform, but not really sure where to turn. And Spotify has used that as an opportunity to bolster their own growth. So that is something that we should look at, right? When companies get too big, they can get really slow at making changes, or making changes that once they're made, they can't come back from, like I think has been done a lot with YouTube. There's a lot of red tape when companies get big. So when you are small and you're the one competing, you need to be using your smaller size and being nimble to your advantage. Make those quick changes, see how people respond, A/B test things, really make the best thing you can while you're still small enough to do so. On that same line, you want to listen to complaints. You want to get to know your audience and really, really listen to them and what they need. Listen to your potential customers' needs. That is the most important thing, and that is often what these big bosses of these big companies are too, ignorant, arrogant. They can't hear it. They're listening to themselves. They're listening to those close people around them, who a lot of yes men, all those things. So find those gaps, respond to needs, listen to your client base. That is the big key takeaway I think we can take. On the flip side of that, if you're a bigger company, or no matter what size you are, you want to always be keeping an eye on what your competitors are doing. See what breaks they're making with your target market. See how they're moving forward, what they're doing differently. Keep an eye on timing. Timing is everything. If you know that a competitor is really busy with a launch of something, or any insider information that you have, use that timing to your advantage. Strike out with a better version while you know that they're too busy to respond or to react. And if you are that bigger business, keep an eye on the up and comers. Just because something has always been done some way, that doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be done. I think Apple has been a little bit blindsided by Spotify for this very reason. So watch for innovations, stay as nimble as possible, take risks while you're small enough to take risks, but most importantly, listen to your audience. So my card is about to run out of time. I'm just looking down a little bit, so I want to just finish up there. Hopefully you got something out of that and what we can learn from this big news in the podcast industry. Thank you so much for watching.